Alright, so far we've been talking about the lead up to the Revolutionary War, the difference between the colonies, and how their founding ended up leading to the Revolutionary War that we're talking about in this unit. Today, what is important, I want you guys to understand, is the difference between primary and secondary sources when going over historical documents. Historical inquiry, we need to think about who actually is writing the sources and why they were writing what they were writing. The other thing is that we need to know history is evolving and it's always open to interpretation, and that's one of the big things with inquiry, why it's so important when teaching a history class. And then what we're actually going to talk about today are the Battle of Lexington and Concord, which were the opening engagements in the Revolutionary War. One of the biggest mysteries about the Battle of Concord is who actually fired the first shot. Did the British fire or did the colonials fire? And that's important because with history it's always written from different perspectives, and different people want to push different views because of that. So why that is important, who fired, was did the British, was it just another act of tyranny on their part? Or was it an act of open rebellion on the part of the colonials? We have a packet here. The packet, I know it's a lot of reading, especially for a short period of time, so we're not going to go over everything. But what I'm going to want you guys to read is number 2 on here, the bold section of number 4, and then number 5. And going with the theme of what the difference between primary and secondary sources, the reason that we're actually going to read 2, 4, and 5 is they are primary sources. They were from people who were involved in the battle. So that's important because most of the other sources were written often much, much later. If we look at, actually the first one wasn't written until 1994, it was written off of those primary sources, but it wasn't written from the perspective of someone who was actually there. So if you guys would take a few minutes, read 2, 4, and 5, and then if you can also, I need you guys to look at this worksheet here and just write down who wrote the document, when was it written, what type of document was it, and why was it written and to whom. And then also who fired the first shot according to the document. Yes?
We didn't get that worksheet.
Oh, you guys didn't all get worksheets? I thought that I passed both sets around. I'm sorry about that.
Anybody else?
No. But if you guys will read this first, then we get into groups of 3, just the people around you, to actually go over the worksheet itself. Why did the person write down their account, and who? The most important is who were they writing it for? Look at the worksheet. Why is it important who wrote the document that we read?
Credibility.
Credibility, perspective. That's the most important thing, I think. Because the first article was written by one of the colonials who was involved. So he's obviously going to have a slanted viewpoint. Now the second one was written by the commander of the British forces there. So he's going to have a slanted perspective as well. It's also important what type of document it had, and why is that important? Just give me some reasons.
The type of, like, for the primary or secondary?
Yeah.
Well, primary, then it's someone's personal account of what they saw from their perspective. And the secondary is writing about everything.
Everything from a second. It wasn't written by an eyewitness account. We did have someone over here, talking about what was one of the problems with the first one being a primary source, though.
Oh, because he didn't write it down until he was like 75 years old, and your memory like really changes a lot
fired the first shot
The guys in the house.
for the fourth one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And who fired the first shot?
The
According to the
British.
first article, the British.
troops.
So one of the articles says that the British fired first, and the other one says that the colonials fired first. Now, what were some of the clues that we could look at, though, as to who might possibly have actually fired first? I know that one side said that one did, another one said the other did. But what were some of the things that we could have looked at within the text, some clues to who may have actually fired first?
The distance that they had to travel from, like, they said, before the break of day, it said that he heard the bell, and then he woke, and then he had to go 3 miles, so we could hypothetically like map that out in like time,
Mm-hmm.
and compare it to other time sources from other people. And like, how long would it take them to go 3 miles, and like, in April, in 1775, when did the sun come up? I mean, right, I mean, we would really
Like what
want.
time did the battle actually happen with?
Yeah,
Okay, that's one thing we could look at. What are some of the other important things that we've been talking about throughout the first unit? The difference between the training of the two levels of troops as well. We talked about how the British troops, the British regulars, were very, very disciplined troops. So that's one thing we could look at as well. That would they have probably been the ones that fired first just based on that? We could also look at, yesterday we talked about the fact that none of these battles, they had several confrontations already, and the British always retreated afterward, after initial confrontation, and no shots had ever been fired up to that point. So we need to look at all the little different things involved with these in order to draw out our hypothesis. For you guys, do you guys have, any of you actually have a theory on who you thought fired first? And if you do, go ahead, raise your hand, and give me 2 reasons why you believe that that's true.
I believe that the colonials fired first. Why? Because, like, I would believe the account of the colonial guy who said that, like, gotta give the shot to fire, but nobody was killed, so he guessed that there was just powder. So kind of like, if he's admitting that that warning shot or whatever, and then everybody scatters, like after that, like, oh crap, these guys are serious, then I would think that, like, the British, if they're retreating, the British really wouldn't need to fire on them. And if they're retreating before he's firing a shot. And then the second reason would be because they seem to be outnumbered. So, like, I would guess that people would shoot if as they're retreating or whatever, just because
They
they're
had
scared.
a shot.
I personally believe the British fired first because Mel Gibson told me so in the movie The Patriot.
Okay, now,
Forgot about that.
what, okay, let's talk about that real quick, actually. Movies often give us, they talk about historical events, but what do movies often do that make them historically inaccurate?
they often have their own
Dramas.
side.
Yeah, movies are dramatic, and their purpose is to get people to go to the movies. So, you cannot use a movie as a historical source